So we start with the first protocol, that is DHCP protocol. What does this DHCP stand for? It stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. I repeat, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. What is it? It is a network management protocol. A DHCP is a network management protocol. What is the function of this protocol is it is going to assign the IP addresses to all the client machine which are getting connected on a network for any kind of network service or any kind of network resources. So if I am a computer and if I want to use a service, or if I want to use a resource, or if I want to search anything on a network, if I connect to a network means I have to first get the IP address. Who is going to assign me that IP addresses is this network management protocol called as DHCP protocol. So it is dynamically going to assign an IP address to any device or any node which is there on the network, so that they can use this IP address for communicating over any other system on the network. So who will be assigning the IP address? The DHCP protocol. And why that IP address is used? Because if I want to communicate with any other device on the network, I will be requiring that IP address. So the work of assigning the IP address is done by the DHCP protocol. It can be implemented on a small local network as well as on the large enterprise network. So let your system be connected to a small public network or small private network or any kind of a big network also. Let it, irrespective of the type of a network, your DHCP will assign the system an IP address once it has entered any type of a network. A DHCP will assign a new address in each location when the devices are moved from place to place. Now, what does this mean is if I am getting connected to a network at say suppose 11:36, so that DHCP will give me an IP address for the time right from 11:36. If I log out from the system and if I join some another network at some another time, it won't allow me to reuse the same IP address. Again, it will assign me a separate IP address. So this new IP address is always assigned whenever you change a location of your system, or you change the type of a network. So IP address will always keep on changing if there is a change in the system's location or if there is a change in the system's network. Okay, and you do not have to do any kind of manual configuration to take this IP address from the DHCP protocol. That means you do not have to input any wires or any type of extra connectivity or any extra networking devices. You just have to connect a network cable, or if you are using a router, just get connected to your Wi-Fi and start using the service or start taking the IP addresses from the DHCP protocol. You do not have to do any manual configuration inside your system to take this IP address from the DHCP protocol. So how does this DHCP protocol operate? It has a DHCP pool, POOL. Okay, the protocol maintains a DHCP pool. What does that DHCP pool has? It has n number of IP addresses which are not assigned to any other system at that particular moment. So at 11:36, if that DHCP pool has 20 IP addresses, and if my system is getting connected to it, one of the IP address from that pool will be assigned to me. Okay. Now, same IP address will not be assigned to anybody else if the other system is getting attached to the same network from the same location at the same time. If I have stopped using that IP address, or if I have shifted from one network to another network, or if I have shifted from one location to another location, I will drop that IP address to the same pool, and then it will be picked up by some another system on the network. So what am I doing is I am reusing the IP address, but that reusing is not going to happen if it is currently being used by some system. And who looks after this policy of reusing and assigning is being done by your DHCP pool. So taking the IP addresses and allocating to the system, again taking it back from the system and putting back to the pool will be looked after by your DHCP protocol. But what will that pool check? That the same IP address should not be assigned to two systems operating at the same location on the same network at the same time. Okay. A DHCP runs at the application layer of your TCP protocol stack. Now, every one of us knows that there are two kind of internet connectivity layers that we use. One is the TCP stack and one is the OSI layer stack. OSI has 7 layers. Your TCP IP internet stack has total 5 layers. So out of it, your DHCP operates on the application layer. The DHCP is based on the client server method. That means it is a client server protocol which manages or which has or in which the servers manages the pool. Which is that pool? It is nothing but the DHCP pool which I just talked about. So it is a pool where all the IP addresses are there and IP addresses are given to the system and again taken back and put it back inside that pool. Okay. Client configured with DHCP broadcast a request to a DHCP server. A DHCP server manages a record of all the IP address that it allocates to a network node. Now what is happening when I say that the system is on the network, it is assigned with the IP address. How it is assigned? First, a request is being made by the client. That request as a broadcast is sent to a DHCP server. From the server, one of the IP addresses will be replied back as a response to that request to the client. Once that IP address is being given to the client, the detail of that IP address along with that client machine is maintained by the DHCP server. Okay. You go to your computer to connect the internet. The network requires an IP address. On behalf of your computer request, the DHCP server allocates the IP to your computer. So I have a computer, I connect to the internet. As soon as the connection is made, first the request has gone to the DHCP server. DHCP server will reply you back with the IP address. Once the IP address has been given to that machine, the details of that IP address with which machine to it is given is being maintained at the server end. Your computer takes an IP address offer that has come along. That means the reply which has come from the DHCP, the client has to accept. It does not have any choice that I do not want this IP address. Please give me some another IP address. There is no choice. Whichever is being given from the DHCP server, the client has to accept that particular accept that particular IP address. It then responds with a DHCP request message that verifies the IP address that has been offered and accepted. Now, what is this? There are different types of messages which are communicated between the client and the DHCP server, which is offering the IP address. You have a messages like DHCP request, DHCP reply, DHCP offer, DHCP discover, like these. These messages are nothing but the communication which is happening between your user machine and between the DHCP server. And this machine, both the machines communicate by using these different messages. A request message, reply message, offer message, discover message, close message, like these. So request means client has requested. Reply is sent with an acknowledgement. Again, if that reply is accepted and some another request is being made, that means the client has accepted the IP address and it has now started communicating by sending some another request of a service or a resource. Once if that IP address has been used and the communication is done, it will send a close message request, which means it is returning back the IP address to the DHCP server. The DHCP then updates the appropriate network server with an IP address. So if the IP address has been accepted by the client, the entry of that particular IP address is being made at the server end so that the server does not use the same IP address for some another machine. So whatever request is being made, whatever IP address is being given, and once the IP address has been accepted, all those details are maintained at the server end. That is the DHCP server end. Why it is maintained? So that there is no use or reuse of the same IP address until it is being dropped by the currently using system. Is this understood up till here? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we have another protocol called as ARP protocol and RARP protocols. Now you might have heard about these two in your CL. ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol and RARP stands for Reverse Address Resolution Protocol. What is Address Resolution Protocol? Let us see first. Now, whenever we communicate on the network, it is not necessary that we should have only IP address. We should also have a MAC address with us. So many a times the system does not have a MAC address, it has only IP address. And many a time it happens like that also, that we have only MAC address and we do not have IP address. So what are these two protocols generally used for? They are used to find out either the MAC address or they are used to find out the IP address. If I know IP address and if I want to find out MAC address, I use address resolution protocol. I use reverse address resolution protocol when I know MAC address, but when I want to know the IP address. But who is giving you the IP address? DHCP protocol is giving you the IP address. To know your IP address and to know your MAC address, you are using address resolution protocol and reverse address resolution protocol. Okay. Now these IP address and MAC address also have two other names. क्या बोलते हैं इसको? We have physical address and we have logical address. Okay. Now let us see what is ARP. Address resolution protocol is a communication protocol used for discovering physical address. Physical address means MAC address. With given network address. With given network address means given logical address or IP address. So I am going to find out a MAC address, also called as physical address, by using the IP address, which is called as either a network address or logical address. So I repeat again, we require two things, MAC and IP address. Whenever a system wants to communicate, your MAC address is called as physical address and your IP address is also called as logical address or network address. So the protocol which has IP address and which find out the MAC address is called as address resolution protocol. So in order to send the data to a destination, having only IP address is not sufficient. We should also require a MAC address. So when I'm transmitting a data from one source machine to another source machine, giving only an IP address is not sufficient. I should also require a MAC address. So I will use this address resolution protocol to get a MAC address, and then data with IP and with MAC address is transmitted from a source machine to a destination machine. Okay. So ARP is used to get the MAC address of the destination machine. So how is it? Let us see from the diagram. I have two systems, host A and host B, that are two computers are communicating. Both the system will have a or will be requirement. There is a requirement of having an IP address and a MAC address along with the data to be transmitted. So when host machine A transmits the data to host machine B, what is going to happen? I have a sender's MAC address. That means I am a source, so I know my MAC address. I am a sender, I know my IP address. I also know the IP address of the machine where I am sending the data, but I do not know what is the MAC address of the destination machine. So with the help of this ARP protocol, I am going to find out the MAC address of the destination machine. So when I send this packet as a request to this machine, what will this host machine B, who is the destination, do? It will put the MAC address of its own machine and transmit it to me. So I have sender IP address, I have sender's MAC address. I had target's IP address also, but I did not have a MAC address. I requested for it. The ARP protocol executed on host B. As the protocol executed, it added the target's MAC address, and after the addition of target's MAC address was done, the packet was transmitted as it is to the sender. And now, since both of them have authenticated each other with the IP address as well as with the MAC address, now both the machines can transmit the data between themselves, or they can communicate between themselves. Okay. So what is this ARP used for? It is used to find out this target's MAC address before the communication starts between any two machines. Is this clear? So before sending the IP packet, the MAC address of the destination must be known. So we did not know first what was the target's MAC address or the destination's MAC address. Now with the help of protocol, we are aware of the MAC address. So if you do not know, then the sender will broadcast this ARP discovery packet requesting for the MAC address to the destination machine. So what does this sender has done? Sender has made a packet like this and it has broadcasted to the host B. Now what is host B going to do? It will identify its MAC address, put that MAC address and send it back to the host. Since ARP discovery is broadcast, every host will get this message, but the packet will be discarded by everyone except the intended receiver. Now, what is happening here? In the network, there may be many computers. So what I am using a broadcast over here. Broadcast means what? Let us assume that we have one more host C also over here. So when a host, who is the sender A, who is the receiver B, C is what? Another some normal machine which is there on the network. But when I say broadcast, what will this broadcast do? ये मैसेज जो ब्रॉडकास्ट हुआ है दैट विल गो टू कंप्यूटर सी ऑल्सो एंड वो जाएगा कंप्यूटर बी के पास भी. What will C do? Will C accept? No, C will not accept. Why? Because it is not matching with its IP address. When this packet is received to C, what will C check? It will check that the data has come from this MAC address. It has come from this IP address. He wants MAC address, but he wants MAC address of which machine? Of this particular machine. So is this IP address matching with the machine of C? No, it is not matching. So what will that do? It will discard, host C will discard this packet. Like this, if I had one more computer, say D will also discard that message. Why? Because the IP address is not matching. So like this, even if there are 1,000 computers, every 1,000 computer on the network will accept this packet, but it will be only delivered to the machine or the target machine where this IP address is being matched. By rest all, it will be discarded. This packet will be discarded by rest all of the machine. So that is what this line is talking about. So it will be accepted only by your intended receiver. How will that intended receiver check that I am the intended one? By this IP address. So once if this packet is being received by the intended or by the target machine, it will put its MAC address and send it back to the host machine. Now this receiver will send a unicast packet with a MAC address. After the original sender receives this reply, it will update the ARP cache and start sending the messages. Now, did you read something called as unicast packet? From A to B, it was broadcast. Everyone was receiving. But from B to A, it will not be multicast or it will not be broadcast, but it will be unicast. Unicast means अभी B को पता है कि sender कौन है और किसने मांगा है data. So it will not send to all the other machines, but it will send a unicast. That means only to one machine who is the intended sender or who wants the information or with whom the B wants to communicate machine or a communicating machine. To whichever is a communicating machine, to only that communicating machine the message will go. It will not go to any other machines. So while sending, it is broadcast, but while receiving the information, it is only to the machine who has requested, not all the machines which are there on the network. Is this clear? What is ARP?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you see in the network, we have 4 systems, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sender ARP request to get PC2's MAC address. So sender has sent a broadcast message, but it wanted what? It wants the MAC address of PC2. So still it has been received by PC4 also, it has been received by PC3 also, and it has been received by PC2 also. But it will be rejected by PC3 by checking the IP address. It will be rejected by PC4 by checking the IP address, but it will be accepted only by PC2 since the IP address is matched. So now when I want to send a MAC address, PC2 will reply only to PC1. It will not send to PC3, neither it will send to PC4. So while transmitting, it was broadcasted to everyone, but while receiving, it was only unicasted or it was only sent to the machine who had requested, which was PC1. Clear?
Ma'am.
Yes.
And why not just use IP address and why is MAC address used?
Because MAC address is used whenever I want to communicate at the gateway level. What
Okay.
I'm doing is I am using this protocols on all the 7 layers or all the 5 layers. So what is operating at the application layer is your gateway. So if I want to, how is my communication starting from the application, that is from the gateway level till the physical level. So since that MAC address is required along with the IP address from the gateway level, therefore it is the requirement is for both. Only IP address is not sufficient. Your gateway level communication requires MAC address also. Okay.
Then ma'am, why is the IP address broadcast? I mean, my IP address is specific, no?
IP address is specific, but to know the MAC address, I have to send it to everybody.
But why?
See what is happening. Broadcast is what I have to send it to everybody, because I also do not know where that machine is there on the network. Okay, it may be on by only by using the IP address. I can work only from network layer to data link layer to physical layer. But what is happening? All these machines are working from the gateway layer, right from the application layer. So even if I send it only to IP address, I will be knowing only the connections of the systems which are from the network layer. So this PC2 might be on the layer which is higher to the network layer. So if I want to know the MAC address, I have to send it along with my MAC address detail and my IP address detail also. That's the reason of broadcast. Why? Because I'm communicating with all the 7 layers. I'm not only using the below 3 layers which are network, data and physical. If I'm restricted with those 3 layers, I can restrict myself up to only IP address. But when I'm operating on all the 7 layers, there is a requirement of subnet mask also, there is a requirement of gateway also, there is a requirement of MAC address also. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now next is reverse address resolution protocol. What was ARP? Find the MAC address with the IP address. But what is your reverse address going to do? It will be allowing you to identify the IP address with the help of the MAC address. Again, why there is a requirement of both? Because again, I am going to operate on a network with the systems which are on all the 7 layers. So I will require IP address also. To find the IP address, I have to use a reverse resolution protocol. So a RARP is a networking protocol used by the client machine on the network to request for the IP address. So the network administrator creates a table in a gateway router which is used to map the MAC address to find out the corresponding IP address. So when a new machine is set up, an RARP client program request from a RARP server on a router to send its IP address. So what am I doing here? Again, there will be a scenario like this. Two machines communicating, where now what will I have is, I will have sender's MAC address, I will have target machine's MAC address, I will have target machine's IP address. But what will this, when the packet has reached over here at the host B, now when the host B wants to know that which was the machine's or what is the machine's IP address from where I am getting this data is, so to know that, what I will do is I will execute this RARP protocol over here. When I execute this RARP protocol, what will RARP server do? RARP server will identify the sender's IP address by using this sender's MAC address. So when I'm sending the packet to the destination machine, this IP address will not be there. If the host wants to know the IP address from where the sender has sent the packet, it will communicate with the RARP server. RARP server will use this packet. It will take this sender's MAC data or MAC address. It will find out the IP address and then tell the destination that who was the host from where this from where this data was or from where this packet was coming. Okay. So here at the target machine, I am connecting with the RARP server to find out the IP address, and that IP address is communicated or calculated by using this MAC address. Okay. So I'm converting my physical address into the logical address by communicating with the RARP server. Clear? Now let us see what does the RARP performs, or what are the steps that the RARP does in order to obtain the IP address. The sender broadcasts the RARP request to all the hosts present on the network. So again, same broadcast will be sent by the sender to all the machines which are there on the network. The RARP request packet contains the physical address of the sender. So what will that packet contain? The packet will have the MAC address of the sender machine. All the hosts receiving the RARP request packet processes it. Every machine on the network will process it, but only the authorized one will accept it. Who is authorized? The one whose target MAC address and the target's IP address is being verified. Dono ka match hua, to only that machine will be accepting that packet. Rest all other machine will discard. Now then, your RARP server will come into picture when the message is being delivered at the destination machine. The authorized host only which can serve the RARP service will respond to the RARP request packet. Such hosts are known as RARP server. So now what happened is I have sent this packet to this machine. Since the MAC address and the IP address has matched with this IP address and the MAC address, so it has accepted this request. Now the machine who has accepted this request, what is that machine going to do? It is a responsibility of this machine to fill this IP address or to identify this IP address by getting connected to what? By getting connected to RARP server. So though this packet was received by all the other machines on the network, it was accepted by only the one which was ready to communicate with RARP server in order to identify the sender's IP address. And how that communication was done? By checking the target machine's IP address and the target's machine MAC address. The authorized RARP server replies directly to the requesting host with a response packet which contains the IP address of the sender. So what will this machine do? This machine which has accepted and identified the IP address, it will send a reply back or send a response back to this machine that I have identified you, and now we both can communicate for any kind of service or any kind of resources for communication. Okay, so see, there are two machines. There is machine 1. What is my IP address? I do not know what is the IP address, so I have connected with the RARP server. RARP request has been sent. It will identify the IP address and send back the reply with the IP address. So this is acting like your host machine or the server with which the host machine has connected, and then I am going to identify the IP address of the sending machine, which is H1. Okay. So once the IP address has been known, it will send that this is a particular IP address, and we have identified your IP address, and now the two machines can communicate with their respective MAC address and IP addresses. Okay, is this clear to you?
Yes.
So DHCP is used to assign the IP addresses. ARP and RARP are used for calculating the respective MAC and the IP addresses for the further communication of the resources. Okay. Now let us see the next protocol called as BOOTP protocol. What does this BOOTP protocol stands for? It stands for Bootstrap protocol. Now, what is this Bootstrap protocol? Again, it is a networking protocol which is used by the client machine to obtain the IP address from the server. So your function of your Bootstrap protocol and your DHCP protocol is same. The DHCP protocol is also used by the client machine to request for an IP address and to get the IP address from the server. Function of Bootstrap protocol is also same, to request for the IP address and get the IP address from the server. Previously, DHCP protocol were used. Nowadays, Bootstrap protocol is also used. It is not like that we don't use DHCP nowadays. DHCP is also used, but there is one difference in Bootstrap and DHCP. Let us see what is that difference is. But rest functioning of both the protocols is same. Both are used for assigning the IP address, apart from that one single difference that we will talk about, which is there only in Bootstrap but not in DHCP. Bootstrap protocol was intended to allow the computers to find what they need to function properly after booting. Now what is happening when my system starts? It has to perform the boot up procedure. It has to load everything, load the operating system, load all the components required. Then if I have also connected to a network, it has to check all my networking ports also. Once the network connection is done, by using this protocol, I will request for the IP address. I will get the IP address and I'll start the communication. But what am I checking before that connection? I'm also checking whether this system is booted properly or not. Okay, which I was not doing in DHCP. Okay, that is one difference. So it was replaced by your DHCP. Bootstrap protocol is used to establish a network connection during a computer's initial boot up during the bootstrap process. So I have to perform this bootstrap processing, or I have to load this operating system and all the other components before I connect to a network and before I ask for the IP address. It is a broadcast protocol, enables a diskless workstations to boot themselves over the internet. So the difference which we are talking about in Bootstrap and your DHCP is about this. It enables the diskless workstation to boot themselves over the internet. Now what does this mean? Now I have a computer which has a hard disk. I will load the operating system from the hard disk. So from where my operating system is loaded, it is loaded from the hard disk. So my hard disk has a partitions like C drive, E drive, F drive, and so on. Mainly you will find your operating system in the C drive. Okay. So when I start the system, operating system is loaded from the C drive. That means it is loaded from the disk. So now I may have a system where there is no hard disk, which are called as diskless workstation. Okay, my work is sufficient with the RAM and with the cache. So there's no need of hard disk. I have removed that hard disk and used it into some another system. So I may have a system where there is no hard disk. Now, if the system does not have a hard disk, what it is going to do? How will it boot? Because for booting, I require an operating system, and for operating system, I require a sufficient memory also. I cannot store my operating system in the RAM and boot it from the RAM. Neither I can store it in the cache memory and boot it from the cache memory. So I will require an operating system. Why? Because what is Bootstrap telling you? Before you get connected to a network, you first see whether your operating system is loaded or not, and whether all your components are there or not. So if you do not have these, you cannot request for the IP address. Then you have to search for DHCP or some another kind of protocol which is going to give you an IP address. So if I have a diskless station, what will I do? I am there on the network. Okay, my system is started, but I have not used any kind of, or I'm not using any type of memory inside it. My system has just connected to a network. Okay, so what am I going to do? Since I have a network connectivity, I will try to boot my system from some another system's operating system. Another system's operating system means what? I have two computers on a network. One is fully functioning with all the high configuration and operating system in the disk. Okay. The other one which is there on the network is just connected to the network, but वो चालू नहीं हुआ है क्योंकि उसमें operating system ही नहीं है और उसको disk भी नहीं है. तो अगर disk नहीं है तो operating system नहीं है, operating system load नहीं हुआ है तो system चालू ही नहीं होगा, correct? But it is connected to a network. So for the diskless, that is what it is, a diskless workstation, no disk in there. But the system to which it is connected, that is to my system, I have everything in that. I have network also, I have operating system also. But what is common in both of our system, a network is common. So what am I trying to do is the station or the system which does not have an operating system, through that internet connectivity, I am going to load the operating system on that machine. मतलब मेरे disk के अंदर जो operating system है, I will connect that system to my machine. I will make my machine as a server machine and give or load the operating system to that machine which is currently diskless. So it will work only if my system is working. It will not work if my system is not working. Why? Because it is connected to my system and it is taking the operating system from my system. So since it has to take the operating system, or since it has to load it from my system, so everything in my system has to work. So since my system is working, I have used that Bootstrap protocol to get the internet connectivity. Through that Bootstrap internet connectivity, I am allowing the diskless workstations to load and to work on the network. Are you understanding this? Am I audible? Are you all there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it understood to everyone? Girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, there could be a wired connection between the two PCs.
You need a
Wired connection.
no wired connection. Network, any kind of network connection is required. Either a cable network or a Wi-Fi network or any other network.
But ma'am, if OS is not there, so how we can connect to the Wi-Fi? Like,
Network connectivity is there, no? Network connectivity is coming from a networking device. I have a networking device with me. See, to get an
Ethernet cable.
इंटरनेट केबल है, इंटरनेट केबल बोलो, कोई दूसरा नेटवर्किंग राउटर बोलो, स्विच बोलो, हब बोल दो, फिर यू कैन टेक मॉडेम आल्सो. एनी नेटवर्किंग डिवाइस का कनेक्शन चाहिए. Once if your network device का connection is there, only the boot up procedure of your operating system is done from my system. See, what is this Bootstrap protocol? Bootstrap protocol is used to boot your operating system. Okay, so from where I am booting the operating system, I am booting the operating system from the machine which is connected to that diskless machine via that network connectivity. See, now let me explain you the working. Okay, let me explain you the working. But have you understood this, that there is a one machine which has nothing, only a network connectivity, and there's one machine which has everything, and that everything wala machine is going to provide a operating system to that diskless wala machine through a network connectivity. Okay. Now listen to me what I'm telling. See, what you are having that bootstrap protocol on the machine which has the operating system and everything is working. So when this bootstrap client, that is the other machine which does not have anything, okay, that we'll call that as bootstrap client, and the machine which has everything is called as bootstrap server. Okay. So now when a bootstrap client machine is being started, it will have no IP address. Okay. So what it will do is it will broadcast a message which will have the MAC address, because it does not have an IP address. What is the function of the bootstrap protocol? To give the IP address. So the machine is there on the network, client machine is connected to the server machine on the network. That machine has its MAC address, it does not have its IP address. So what it will do, it will send a broadcast like how we have seen in ARP and RARP. So that broadcast message containing the MAC will be sent on the network. Now this is called as bootstrap request coming from the client machine to the server machine. Now, since it is a broadcast, it will go to all the other machines which are there on the network. But it will be accepted only by the machine whose server IP address and the MAC address are being matched. So it is matching with my MAC address and it is matching with my IP address. So what I will do is I will give a reply to that client machine. When I give a reply to a client machine, what I'm going to do is I will send the MAC address as it is. I will also send the IP address back. Now, since that machine, the client machine, has got its IP address, has got its MAC address, he knows my IP address also, he knows my MAC address also. So now there is a proper internet connectivity from my end to that client machine end, as well as from the client machine end to my machine end. Okay. So we have IP addresses, we have MAC addresses, we have gateway address also. Okay. What will happen now, the IP and the host name of the server, which is my machine. Okay. My IP address and my host name will be used for the client communication, as well as client IP address and the MAC IP address will be used for the communication. That means all the four things will be required for both of us to communicate. Okay. Now what is happening? We both are on the network. We both have got the internet connectivity. I have connected to the bootstrap server and got the IP address of that machine. We both are connected. Now I just have to start that machine by getting it connected to my operating system. If I directly connect it to my operating system, I will only boot the operating system. Boot the operating system means I will just load the operating system on the network. Once the operating system is loaded on the network, that system is connected to my own network, it will automatically boot the system and start using the services. So since it has a booting information of each, we both have booting information of each other, we can load the operating system and we can start communicating. Siddesh, are you getting me? Are you all there?
Yes, ma'am.
Siddesh, have you slept? Okay. Has everybody else understood what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain it once again. What is happening? मेरे पास एक सिस्टम है जिसमें सब कुछ है, आईपी एड्रेस भी है, मैक एड्रेस भी है, मेरे पास ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम भी है, मेरे पास डिस्क भी है. ठीक है. आई हैव वन मोर सिस्टम ऑन अ सेम नेटवर्क जिसके पास सिर्फ उसका मैक एड्रेस है, बाकी कुछ भी नहीं है. तो वो मुझे क्या बोल रहा है, यू मेक मी कनेक्ट टू योर नेटवर्क सो दैट आई कैन लोड और आई कैन टेक द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. सो व्हाट आई विल डू इज आई विल दैट मशीन जिसको ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम चाहिए उसके पास सिर्फ मैक एड्रेस है, तो उसने एक ब्रॉडकास्ट भेजा सारे मशीन को नेटवर्क पे. वो मशीन जो रिक्वेस्ट भेज रहा है उसका रिक्वेस्ट कौन एक्सेप्ट करेगा? ओनली द मशीन हुज आईपी एड्रेस एंड द मैक एड्रेस मैचेस. तो सब बाकी मशीन्स ने उसको रिजेक्ट कर दिया. ओनली आई हैड एक्सेप्टेड. व्हाई? बिकॉज इट वाज मैचिंग विथ माय टारगेट एंड विथ माय मैक एड्रेस. So since we both are using a bootstrap protocol, or forget both, I am using a bootstrap protocol, so I gave him a IP address. This is your IP address. Now we both have everything. तेरे पास भी MAC IP है, मेरे पास भी MAC IP है. Now we both will communicate with this address only. So what is happening, since the IP address of the server, which is used for booting for the client IP address, so since from one of my address is being given to that machine, and I am going to load that IP address from my not IP address, sorry, I'm going to load my operating system from my machine via that 4 addresses on the network on his machine. That is what I'm trying to tell. So if I do not have a network connectivity, or if I could not give him IP address through that bootstrap protocol which I had, I could never load the operating system. अगर मैंने उसको ये IP एड्रेस मेरे बूटस्ट्रैप के थ्रू दे दिया, so I can load the operating system also. That is what I mean to tell you. So if you are a machine and if I am requesting, अगर आपके पास IP एड्रेस है using that bootstrap protocol, and if you can give me that operating system through network connectivity, you will accept my request, you will make me connect with the IP address of that bootstrap server, and then you will load the operating system which will be used by me. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So which
Yes.
is this? See, this thing cannot be happened if it is DHCP. DHCP का क्या requirement है? आपके पास सब कुछ खुद का ही होना चाहिए. मैं सिर्फ the opposite end will only give you the server, sorry, the IP address. सर्वर आपको सिर्फ IP address देगा, बाकी तुम कोई भी resources मांगोगे वो नहीं देगा. It will only give you from that pool, or that pool has only IP address. It cannot load an operating system or anything else. So that is the advantage of Bootstrap. Even if the system which does not have such kind of operating systems for loading themselves and use the services, your Bootstrap protocol provides you with that service also. Okay, next we will see what is IP address. Now what is IP address? Internet protocol addressing. So it is a numerical label that is assigned to each and every device which is connected on the network. So let it be any machine, whichever machine comes on the network. To every machine, this numerical label is assigned. And what is that numerical label called? Logical address, or the IP address. To whom it is assigned? It is assigned to every computer on the network. Then if there is no existence on the network, that means if a machine is not on the network, that IP address is being removed or is being taken back, and it will be reallocated once that computer again joins the network. What is that IP address? It is a unique identification of a particular machine on the network. So every time every machine gets connected will have some kind of unique number. That number will never be same if you are at the same location within the same network. So we also call it as a logical address, and it keeps on changing if you are changing the network or if you are changing the location. So that address, this IP address, is divided into 2 parts, which are those. The first is the network part and the other is the host part. What is the network part? It specifies which network this address belongs to. Okay, and the host part further pinpoints the exact location. So network identification is done by the network part, and the location identification is done by the host part. Okay, so कौन से location पे है थाना में, for example, if it is there in XYZ building, so that XYZ building is nothing but the host part, but it is connected to a which network, थाने का network, or say suppose any Mumbai का network or Mulund का network, any other network on any other tower, that details will be told by the network part. So in short, your area will be your network part, but exact building location will be your host part. IP protocol is a connectionless protocol that is datagram oriented. Now we had 2 types of protocols, connection oriented and connectionless. What is, do you remember, any one of you, what is connection oriented and connectionless? Any one of you, do you remember?
In connection oriented, direct link is connected.
Protocol and transaction control.
Yes is telling.
In connection oriented, a link, direct link is made between the 2 devices, and in connection less, the packets travel randomly.
No, see what
To the
you're correct, but
And connection
TCP
oriented
and UDP.
includes acknowledgement.
in connectionless, there is a communication between the 2 networks, that is endpoints, and the messages are sent from one end to another end without any arrangement or without any prior arrangement. Whereas in connection oriented, there is some kind of prior arrangement being made or a path being decided. Whereas in connectionless, there is no such kind of path or prior arrangement done. It will just check whether 2 machines are there, both the ends are connected or not, and it will simply send the data. Okay, that is what is connectionless. Error connection is handled by upper level protocols. These protocols includes TCP, which are connection oriented. So your error handling work will be done by whom? By your TCP, which is connection oriented. So what is connection oriented? Now, before the connection is done or before the communication is happening, I have made the arrangement that it will transmit via route A, B, C, or via A, X, Z, Y, something like that. Whereas in this IP, no connection is being done, no route is decided, nothing is decided. Just check two points are connected and there is a network or not. If the connection is there, network is there, simply transmit the data. So in that case, I'm not able to check if there is any error connection because no specific path details are there. Whereas this error kind of connection, error correction and error identification can be done in TCP because there it is connection oriented. Every path and every details are being decided and that is only followed. Okay. Do you know what are the different classes of IP or what are the different range of IP addresses? You have different classes from A to E. Okay, every class has a separate range. So these are the classes, these are the address range. And what do they support? If it is class A, it is used for large networks with many devices. If it is class B, it is for the medium size network. If it is class C, it is for the smaller size network with 256 devices. So if you see in our labs, whenever you check the IP address, it will always belong to class C. Why? Because we are in a very small network where we hardly have any less than even 100 of computers connected. So if it is small type of network, we'll find the IP address which is in the range starting from 192. Then for class D is reserved for multicast group, where I have group of networks created, group of computers created, and those groups of computers are connected on the network. So if there is such kind of multicasting between the groups of computers, class D is being used. And class E is reserved for future used, like for research and development purpose. So we generally operate either in B or C class, where it ranges from 128 to 191, and your class C is from 192 to 223. Have you done this in CN? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we have two types of IP addresses range also, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 is of 32 bits and IPv6 is of 128 bits. What are these two? Like how we have different classes which gives you the IP address. Now these IP addresses are of two types. They are either of IP4 type or IPv6 type. So if it is IPv4 type, it is a 32 bits of transmission, whereas if it is IPv6, it is 128 bit of transmission. So when there is a network connectivity in either IPv4 type or IPv6 type, it chooses what type of or how many bits of data is to be communicated. If you are in the network of IPv4, your data transmission will be of 32 bits. If you are in a network of IPv6, your data transmission will be of 128 bits. Okay. Now we have two types of IP addresses also. One is static and one is dynamic. What is dynamic? Like DHCP and BOOTP are dynamic. Your IP address never remains constant. It will always keep on changing. You connect, you get a new one, you disconnect, you again, and when you try to connect it, you will always get a second IP address. That means your IP address is never constant. But many a times, many of the organizations try to keep the IP address which is static. So static means they never change. Once if it is assigned, that IP address is only used every time for getting connected over the network. So if it is server machine, generally the server uses this static IP address, whereas the client machines or the normal users make use of dynamic IP addresses. Okay. So what is this? You have two machines communicating. One machine is connected to another machine, or it is a client machine is requesting for a data. So your computer is connected to a router using a TCP IP connection and it is asking for the IP address. So the router routes your request to a particular server. Your router request will be taken, IP address will be assigned. Once the IP address is assigned, you will use that IP address for further communication with the other devices or with the servers. Okay. So initially you do not have IP address, you get connect to a network, to a networking device. That networking device will further connect you to some server. Server will provide you the IP address and then you will use that IP address for the further communication with the server or with some any other kind of resource. Okay. IPv6 provides you an end-to-end connectivity than IPv4. What are the advantages of IPv6? One is it has more bits of traveling as compared to IPv4. It provides end-to-end connectivity. It is faster as compared to IPv4. It has more security over the data on the network. Then the address format is also different as compared to address format of IPv4. It contains 8 sets of 4 hexadecimal digits. So it has 8 sets. These are the 8 sets, which includes hexadecimal digits also. And all these are separated by using colons. So this is one of the examples of your IPv6 addressing type. Okay, so it has 8 different sections of this. This is none of your concern. That means we generally, as a user, we are not aware about this format. We only concentrate that it is faster, provides good network connectivity at a high speed of 128 bits. How is that address generated? We are not concerned with that. Okay. Have you done this in CN? CN में हुआ है क्या?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so remaining part we will continue tomorrow. So we have seen what is DHCP, ARP, RARP, Bootstrap, and IP protocol. Tomorrow we'll start with the data frame of DHCP. That is how your DHCP, or what are the components which are there inside your DHCP, what are the messages which are used for communication between DHCP client and DHCP server.